Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into some seriously intense stuff. We're talking about those moments in sports that made everyone watching cringe. The injuries so brutal, so unexpected, they're seared into sports history. So buckle up because we're about to relive 10 of the most shocking sports injuries of all time. We're kicking things off with a moment that's practically a case study in career-ending injuries. It's November 18, 1985. Washington Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann drops back to pass. Then, BAM! Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson of the New York Giants converge on Theismann in a blitz. The sound of the impact alone was enough to make everyone in the stadium wince. Theismann's leg buckled under the pressure, the bones snapping in a way that's hard to even describe. The broadcast replayed the footage over and over, and each time, it seemed more surreal. Theismann's career was over in an instant, a harsh reminder of the risks these athletes take every time they step onto the field. It's a moment forever etched in NFL history, a stark reminder of the violence inherent in the game. Next up, we're heading to the basketball court where Kevin Ware's injury in the 2013 NCAA tournament shocked everyone. Ware, a guard for the Louisville Cardinals, was playing in the Elite Eight against Duke. He went up for a block, a totally normal play, right? But when he landed, his leg just snapped. The bone literally pierced through his skin. Players on the court were visibly shaken, some even turning away in horror. Ware, to his credit, showed incredible toughness in that moment, trying to calm everyone down. The image of his broken leg became a defining image of the tournament, a reminder that even in basketball, danger is always lurking. Let's talk about a sport where brutal injuries are almost expected: mixed martial arts. Anderson Silva, a legend in the UFC, was known for his lightning-fast strikes and incredible agility. But in 2013, during a fight against Chris Weidman, the world watched in disbelief as Silva's leg snapped in two. It was a kick, a checked leg kick, that did it. Weidman had been expertly defending Silva's kicks all night, and with one well-timed check, Silva's shin bone shattered. The sound, the way Silva's leg just dangled there, it was like something out of a horror movie. The fight was immediately stopped, and Silva, clearly in agony, was rushed to the hospital. Silva eventually returned to fighting, but that injury became a defining moment in his career, a stark reminder of the risks these fighters take. Now we're heading to the ice rink, where the speed and sharp blades make for a dangerous combination. Ice hockey is a sport known for its intensity and physicality, but sometimes, the danger becomes all too real. Clint Malarchuk's story is one that sends chills down your spine. His experience is a stark reminder of the risks athletes take every time they step onto the ice. It was 1989 and Malarchuk, a goalie for the Buffalo Sabres, was defending the net. The game was intense, with both teams fighting hard for control. During a scramble in front, a skate blade belonging to St. Louis Blues player Steve Tuttle came up and sliced Malarchuk's throat. The incident happened so quickly that many in the audience didn't realize the severity at first. Blood immediately started gushing from the wound, pooling on the ice. The sight was shocking, and panic quickly spread through the arena. Malarchuk, thinking he was about to die, skated towards the bench, leaving a trail of blood behind him. His only thought was to get off the ice and avoid dying in front of the fans. Luckily, the Sabres trainer, Jim Pezzutelli, was a former Army medic, and he knew exactly what to do. His quick response was crucial in those critical moments. He reached into Malarchuk's neck and pinched off the artery, quite literally saving his life. The presence of mind and medical knowledge Pezzutelli displayed were nothing short of heroic. This injury was so horrifying, so graphic, that it's still hard to watch the footage today. The incident left a lasting impact on everyone who witnessed it. It's a testament to the quick thinking of Pezzutelli and the resilience of Malarchuk that he survived. Their actions that day are remembered as one of the most dramatic and life-saving moments in sports history. For our next shocking injury, we're going back to basketball, but this time, it's on the international stage, where the stakes are incredibly high. Paul George, a rising star in the NBA, was representing Team USA in a scrimmage leading up to the 2014 FIBA World Cup. His performance was highly anticipated, and fans were eager to see him shine on the global stage. During the game, George went up to contest a shot, a routine play in basketball. It was a moment that seemed like any other, but it would soon turn into a nightmare. But as he came down, his leg got tangled up with the basket stanchion, and the force of the impact snapped his leg in a gruesome way. The sound of the break was audible, sending chills down the spines of everyone present. The image of George's leg, bent at an unnatural angle, was broadcast around the world. It was a sight that left viewers horrified and deeply concerned for his well-being. The entire arena went silent, the shock of the injury palpable. Fans and players alike were in a state of disbelief, unable to comprehend the severity of what had just happened. George's Team USA teammates were visibly shaken, some even turning away in horror. The emotional toll on the team was evident, as they struggled to process the traumatic event. This injury not only sent shockwaves through the basketball world, but also raised questions about the safety of the stanchion padding. It sparked a conversation about the need for better protective measures to prevent such devastating injuries in the future. Rugby is a sport known for its physicality, but the injury suffered by Alex McKinnon in 2014 transcended the typical bumps and bruises. Playing for the Newcastle Knights in the NRL, McKinnon was involved in a tackle that would change his life forever. During the tackle, McKinnon's head was forced down, compressing his spine and causing a devastating neck injury. He lay motionless on the field as medical personnel rushed to his aid. The silence in the stadium was deafening as everyone watched in horror. McKinnon was eventually stretchered off the field and rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery. The diagnosis was grim, a fractured dislocation of his C4 and C5 vertebrae, leaving him with limited movement in his arms and legs. His rugby career was over, and his life was forever altered. Now, let's talk about Shaun Livingston, a talented point guard who suffered one of the most gruesome knee injuries in NBA history. This injury was so severe that it left fans, players, and medical staff in utter shock. It was 2007, and Livingston was playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. The team had high hopes for the season, and Livingston was a key player. As he drove to the basket, Livingston landed awkwardly, his body twisting in a way that immediately signaled something was terribly wrong, his knee buckling underneath him in a way that made everyone watching wince. The arena fell silent as the severity of the injury became apparent. It wasn't just a simple dislocation, it was a complete and utter destruction of his knee joint. Ligaments, tendons, and bones were all severely damaged. Livingston lay on the court in agony, his face contorted in pain, his knee pointing in a direction it shouldn't. It was a sight that many would never forget. The Clippers' training staff was horrified, rushing to his side to provide immediate care. Even veteran players who had seen their fair share of injuries were visibly shaken. The gravity of the situation was clear to everyone present. The game was delayed for several minutes as Livingston was carefully carried off the court on a stretcher. The crowd watched in stunned silence, hoping for the best. Through sheer determination and an incredible amount of rehab, Livingston embarked on a long and arduous journey to recovery. He was able to make a remarkable comeback, showing the world his resilience and strength. Defying all odds and returning to the NBA, Livingston's story became an inspiration to many, proving that with determination, anything is possible. Back to the hockey rink, where sharp blades and high speeds can lead to some truly terrifying injuries. In 2008, Florida Panthers forward Richard Zednik was involved in a play that left everyone on the ice holding their breath. As Zednik's teammate Olli Jokinen was skating back on defense, his skate blade accidentally clipped Zednik's neck, slicing open his carotid artery. Blood immediately started gushing from the wound, painting the ice a horrifying shade of crimson. Zednik, realizing the severity of the situation, immediately skated towards the bench, leaving a trail of blood in his wake. The Panthers' medical staff rushed to his aid, applying pressure to the wound and trying to control the bleeding. He was rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery to repair the severed artery. From the ice, we move back to the basketball court, where even a seemingly innocuous play can have devastating consequences. In the 2006 NCAA tournament, Villanova guard Allen Ray suffered a gruesome eye injury that shocked the basketball world. During a game against Ohio State, Ray was poked in the eye by an opposing player. It seemed like a routine foul, the kind that happens dozens of times in a game. But as Ray clutched his face in pain, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. He was diagnosed with a detached retina, a serious injury that threatened not only his basketball career but also his vision. Ray's story serves as a reminder that even a seemingly minor incident can have life-altering consequences. For our final shocking injury, we return to the world of soccer where a brutal tackle left one player with a career-threatening injury. In 2008, Arsenal forward Eduardo da Silva was on the receiving end of a challenge that made everyone watching cringe. During a match against Birmingham City, Birmingham defender Martin Taylor lunged into a tackle on Eduardo, his studs making contact with Eduardo's ankle. The impact was sickening, and it was immediately clear that this was no ordinary foul. Eduardo's leg snapped, the bone breaking through the skin in a gruesome display. Players from both teams were visibly shaken, some even turning away in horror. The game was stopped for several minutes as medical personnel rushed to Eduardo's aid. The injury sidelined Eduardo for nearly a year, sparking widespread debate about player safety in soccer. Talking about these injuries, it really makes you realize how fragile the human body is, even for these incredible athletes. They push themselves to the limit day in and day out, and sometimes the price they pay is brutal. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the game, to forget that these are real people putting their bodies on the line. So, next time you're watching a game, take a moment to appreciate the sacrifices these athletes make. They're pushing their bodies to the limit, risking it all for the love of the game.